When we talk about geopolitics, one of the most fascinating but less discussed questions is, could the six Turkic countries ever challenge Russia? These six states are Turkey, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan. They share deep linguistic, cultural, and historical bonds. On paper, they collectively represent a population of more than 170 million and control vast energy resources across Eurasia. Yet, despite this potential, the idea of these countries defeating or even effectively countering Russia remains far from reality. The relationship between Russia and the Turkic peoples is centuries old, shaped by conquest, empire, and resistance. From the fall of the Kazan Khanate in the 16th century to the annexation of Central Asia in the 19th century, Turkic lands have often found themselves under Russian dominance. Even after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Moscow maintained deep political, economic, and cultural influence over its former Turkic republics. This long history matters. Russia has not only built military dominance in the region, but also ingrained itself into the political structures, economies, and even identities of many Turkic states. While Turkey stood outside of Soviet control, its own history with Russia is filled with wars that ended in bloody stalemates or Ottoman defeat. The lesson is clear. Historically, no Turkic state or coalition of them has been able to decisively defeat Russia. Geography heavily favors Russia in any confrontation. Russia is the world's largest country, stretching across 11 time zones. It is protected by vast plains, mountains, and harsh climates that make invasion difficult. Central Asian states are landlocked and geographically fragmented. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan are deep inside the region, surrounded by Russia and China. Turkey and Azerbaijan are separated from them by the Caucasus, Iran, and the Caspian Sea. This geographic separation makes joint military cooperation extremely difficult. If Turkey wanted to send troops to Central Asia, they would need to cross either Russian-controlled territory, unstable Caucasus corridors, or Iran. Russia sits directly on the borders of these republics and can project power into them far more easily. The most decisive factor is military power. Russia, despite its economic struggles and ongoing war in Ukraine, still fields one of the largest armies in the world with nuclear weapons, advanced air defense systems, and a long history of large-scale warfare. Now let's look at the Turkic states. Turkey has NATO's second-largest army, modern drones, and significant military experience in Syria, Libya, and Nagorno-Karabakh. But it is still far from matching Russia's nuclear arsenal and heavy military industry. Azerbaijan has improved its military dramatically, largely thanks to Turkish and Israeli drones, but its size and resources are limited. Kazakhstan has a sizable land area, but its army is small and poorly equipped compared to Russia's. Uzbekistan is the most populous Central Asian country, yet it too has a limited military budget. Kyrgyzstan and Turkmenistan have very small, outdated forces. Even combined, these militaries cannot rival Russia's conventional forces, let alone its nuclear capability. And here lies the ultimate point. Any war scenario involving Russia cannot ignore the nuclear factor. Russia's status as the world's largest nuclear power alone makes direct defeat nearly impossible. Another major obstacle is political fragmentation. The six Turkic states may share cultural bonds, but their political systems and foreign policies differ drastically. Turkey sees itself as the leader of the Turkic world, but it also balances between NATO, the US, and its own rivalry with Russia. Azerbaijan relies heavily on Turkey but also maintains pragmatic ties with Moscow. Kazakhstan is deeply integrated into Russian-led institutions like the Collective Security Treaty Organization and the Eurasian Economic Union. Uzbekistan pursues an independent foreign policy but avoids direct confrontation with Moscow. Kyrgyzstan depends heavily on Russian economic support and military bases. Turkmenistan maintains a strict policy of neutrality, rarely joining military alliances. These differences mean that even in times of crisis, the six states cannot act as one bloc. Some may align with Turkey, others may side with Russia, while still others prefer neutrality. Without genuine unity, the idea of defeating Russia remains more of a fantasy than a strategy. Russia also maintains strong economic influence over most of the Turkic states. Yes, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan rely on Russia for trade routes and labor migration. Millions of Central Asian workers depend on remittances from Russia, which gives Moscow a powerful economic lever. Even energy-rich countries like Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan must navigate pipelines, markets, and geopolitical choke points where Russia holds influence. Turkey itself, despite tensions, remains dependent on Russian natural gas and tourism revenues. This economic interdependence makes direct confrontation against Russia costly, if not suicidal, for these states. It is also important to remember that the Turkic countries do not operate in isolation. Any conflict with Russia would immediately attract the attention of other global powers. The United States and NATO may rhetorically support Turkic unity, but they are unlikely to risk direct war with Russia for the sake of Central Asia. In other words, the global balance of power itself acts as a barrier. The Turkic world cannot defeat Russia without triggering a larger international confrontation that no one is prepared to handle. Additionally, there is the question of identity. While the Turkic states emphasize their cultural bonds, they also have significant differences in language, dialect, religion, and political orientation. Pan-Turkism remains more of a symbolic ideal than a practical political project. Russia, on the other hand, has long used soft power through media, education, and shared Soviet history to maintain influence across the region. Moscow may not be loved, but it is still seen as an unavoidable partner by many Central Asian elites. When we combine all these factors, including history, geography, military power, political divisions, economic dependence, and international constraints, the conclusion is unavoidable. The 6 Turkic countries cannot defeat Russia. Of course, this does not mean they are powerless. Turkey has shown that it can challenge Russia diplomatically and militarily on specific fronts. Azerbaijan proved in 2020 that with Turkish support it can win wars in its neighborhood. Central Asian states are gradually diversifying their foreign relations, seeking closer ties with China, Europe, and even each other. But defeating Russia as a united bloc? That remains impossible. Geography, nuclear weapons, and deep-rooted dependencies make such a scenario unrealistic. The Turkic world's challenge is not to defeat Russia, but to carefully balance between Moscow, Beijing, and the West while building their own unity step by step. Only then could they emerge as an independent pole in world politics.